There's nothing more embarrassing than making a declarative statement just to find out that you're wrong. In Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13, it says, "He who answers before he hears, his is the folly and the shame." We're talking about assumptions here, and we've all heard that saying about people who assume things. It makes a biblical donkey, let's say, out of you and me, using the word assume to make that statement. And I think you know what I'm trying to say here. He who answers before he hears, his is the folly and the shame. Nobody likes a know-it-all. And sometimes we get so frustrated or so hyper-focused and engaged in life, and we're moving along at a fast clip because we're determined, because we're task-driven or what have you. And all of a sudden somebody comes up to us and wants to tell us something, and we already assume ahead of time we know what they're going to say. And so in exasperation, we're like, yes, I know, and then we tell them what we think they're going to say, and then they turn around and say something we weren't totally expecting. That is a subtle form of pride, being a know-it-all, and it's a form of self-importance and superiority. And one of the most embarrassing stories that I ever heard, to a parent's shame, is a little child coming out in their pajamas, and their pajamas are soaking wet, and the child just sheepishly says, "Daddy," and then the daddy looks and sees that the pajamas are wet and see that the child looks embarrassed, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I know, you wet the bed again, right?" "No, the lid on my sippy cup came off and I got all wet." Wow. How shameful, how embarrassing for the parent. The parent just assumes that the child wet the bed, assumes that the child made a mistake and did something wrong. And the child's ashamed already because it wasn't their fault that the lid on the sippy cup came off, right? It wasn't screwed on tight enough. Whose fault was that? Well, it was the parent's fault, right? Or whoever did it. So, it's to the person's shame where they assume something and then just make that declarative statement, being very presumptuous, only to come to find out that they're wrong. So, part of it is temperament. Part of it is an issue of pride. So we need to think before we speak. We need not to be such in a hurry or a rush, or to be so driven and hyper-focused that we ignore everything and everybody around us. And then when somebody comes into our little bubble, our realm of hyper-focusedness, and interrupts our mojo and flow, we get frustrated, and then we just automatically assume why they're there to bug us or what they're going to say. And we need not be that way. That's unscriptural. That's ungodly. That only brings shame upon ourselves. Again, he who answers before he hears, his is the folly and the shame. So today, let's just be focused on doing our best, but pacing ourselves and taking our time, and not be so frustrated and hyper-focused, but just to do things at a slow and steady pace, because slow and steady wins the race. When we're slow and steady, we're paying attention to everything and everybody around us. We're not so hyper-focused that we make mistakes and leave things out, and we won't find ourselves thinking or speaking before we think. We need to think before we speak. And when somebody comes into our presence with wanting to tell us something, we need to basically assume that we have no idea what they're about to say, even though maybe our pride, may jump in there and say, "Oh, I know what this joker's here for." And you know what? Maybe sometimes we're right. Maybe we do know what they're going to say ahead of time. But that doesn't matter. We need to let the other person have the respect and the dignity to speak their own mind, whether we know what they're going to say or not. Because a lot of times we may not know what they're going to say, and it'll be our shame and our embarrassment if we make that declarative statement only to come to find out that we're wrong. Just like that parent that that thought he knew the child wet the bed, when in fact the lid came off on the sippy cup and soaked the child in the bed. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. God bless. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press the like button as well as the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. and the notification bell that'll let you know every time I make a new video. And don't forget to share this with a friend. Also, visit our website at abrahamsdescendants.com. Thanks. Shalom.